Okay, this is chapter 1, section 3. Its title is Dividing Rational Numbers. So if you understood the last section, then you're going to understand this section because we turn division problems into multiplication problems. Last year, whenever we were talking about dealing with dividing fractions, we did something called a copy dot flip. And so what this is you start with your original problem, and it might be something like 2/3 divided by 5/7. Well, we want to change it to, we copy down our first one, and it's important that you get the order right because you can't just flip any of them. It has to be the second one. We change our dot or our division to a dot. It's changing it from divide to multiply. And then we flip our second one. The flip of anything is a reciprocal. And so 7/5 is the reciprocal of 5/7. It's basically just where you turn it around. You just flip it. So now that we have done our copy dot flip, we can just go ahead and we can cross cancel if we see anything that will cancel out. Right now we have 2 and 7 on top with 3 and 5 on bottom. Nothing on top will cancel out with anything on bottom. So we really just go straight across. 2 times 7 is 14. 3 times 5 is 15. So our answer is 14/15. Now, a couple of things you need to be aware of is make sure you're watching that order, and then if you type it in your calculator exactly like you see it, you're going to get the answer. And I know like you might not always have a calculator with you, but really in class and as you're learning these things, you will. So don't be afraid to rely on it a little bit. If you have a mixed number, so let's say we have something like, so a mixed number, 2 and 1/8, what you want to do is you want to turn that into an improper fraction. And how we're going to do this is you multiply the bottom number times the big number. So 8 times 2 is 16. And then you add this top number. So 16 plus 1 is 17. So our improper fraction would be 17/8. You keep that original bottom number. All right. There is such a thing as complex fractions. A complex fraction would be like if I took this one, and because every division problem is basically just a fraction, I can make this into a fraction. And so I could say complex fraction would be like a fraction over a fraction. So 2/3 divided by 5/7 would become 2/3 over 5/7. And so your complex fraction is this right here. It is a fraction divided by a fraction, so it's just a fraction over a fraction. And you can rewrite this as this if that's easier for you. You just need to be aware that those are the same thing. All right, so dividing fractions. You just need to be aware of this copy dot flip. That's really what we're going to be working with. So dividing fractions. If I have 7/15 and I divide it by 4/5, then there's 2 ways that you can really do this. After you copy dot flip it, you can cross cancel and then you don't have to simplify in the end. But if you just want to copy dot flip it, go straight across, then you'll have to simplify in the end. I'll show you both ways. So copy dot flip. Now right here, I'm gonna cross cancel. So cross cancel. When I cross cancel, I see that I have a 7 and a 5 on top, a 15 and a 4 on bottom. So 5 and 15 share some common factors. So I divide that by 5, I divide that by 5. This is now a 3, this is now a 1. So now I have 7 times 1, which is 7, and I have 3 times 4, which is 12. If I don't do it this way, if I want to take my original and I want to copy, dot, flip it, and then I want to multiply, so 3 times 5 is 35. 15 times 4 is 15, 30, 45, 60. And now right here I see, okay, I can simplify this. I know that 35 and 60 are both divisible by 5 because one ends in a 5 and one ends in a 0. And so I can see that 5 can go into both of them. This gives me 35 divided by 5 gives me 7. 60 divided by 5 is that 12. So this is simplifying later on versus cross cancel. If you cross cancel, then it makes the numbers smaller and kind of easy to work with. I recommend learning how to do this. If not, you can do this. And really you can type the original number in your calculator and it will do all of this for you and it will give you 7/12. One thing you guys need to be aware of is if ever you have a whole number, so let's say, oh, this one will be good. So if we take 12 fifths and we want to divide it by 2, whenever you have a whole number, you need to put it over 1 in order to create that fraction to work with. So I would copy the first one down, 12 fifths, times, and now I flip this one. So now I'm timesing it by a half. So you'll see that I have 12 and 1 on top, I have 5 and 2 on bottom. 12 and 2 share a common factor. So I reduce that by dividing it by 2, and I reduce this by dividing it by 2. And now I have 6 times 1 is 6 over 5. And that is going to be my answer for that. But yeah, if ever you're working with a whole number, make sure you're putting it over 1 to get it into that fraction look so you can flip it either way, okay?